Have you ever stood at the edge of forever and chosen to fall? My name is Skye, and 3 nights ago I made a choice that cost me eternity. Not for glory, not for power, for golden eyes that held too much pain and hands that shook when they pushed me away. They taught me that divine beings heal without attachment, that we float above mortal pain, dispensing miracles like mathematics. But they never warned me what would happen when a wounded wolf looked at me like I was salvation and damnation wrapped in starlight. They never told me how it would feel when someone gentle by nature had been cursed to destroy everything he touched with kindness. I came to the mortal realm to understand pain before I took my vows, to learn what suffering meant to those who couldn't heal with a touch. I thought I'd observe, study, return home enlightened. I didn't expect him. Grumpy, they call it in those romance novels. Protective alpha, touch her and die. But those are just words. They don't capture the devastation in his voice when he told me to run. They don't explain how someone can be powerful enough to fight off a pack of rivals, yet too broken to accept a gentle touch. They don't tell you how your divine nature will recognize its other half in a cursed wolf who thinks he's beyond saving. 3 nights. That's all it took. 3 nights to unravel 300 years of divine training. 3 nights to discover that some prayers are meant to be howled at the moon. 3 nights to learn that falling isn't always about losing your wings. Sometimes it's about finding where you were meant to land. My name is Skye, and this is my confession. My prayer, my howl. Welcome to Howling on the Prayer by D.N. Leo, narrated by Jessica Lee. Chapter 1. The rope burned against Skye's palms as she climbed, each movement precise, despite the awkward angle. Divine blood didn't blister, but it remembered the sensation, nerve endings firing in patterns her immortal body recognized but couldn't quite replicate. Climbing down into a well was one thing. Climbing up from the bottom of an inverted well that opened between realms? That required a different skill set entirely. This is still a terrible idea, Pax muttered from her shoulder, currently shaped like a gecko for better grip. His tiny claws pricked through her tunic like acupuncture needles. Of all the dimensional portals in the divine realm, you had to choose the Shepherd's Well? It's the only one that doesn't require authorization tokens. Skye paused to catch her breath, divine light flickering along her arms from the exertion. The light tasted like starlight on her tongue. Cold, distant, nothing like the warm pulse she imagined mortal energy might have. 20 more feet. Unless you'd prefer I forge Celestial Council documents. I'd prefer you accept Master Gideon's offer like a sensible person. His tiny feet tickled her neck as he repositioned. Guardian of mortal healing. Do you understand what an honor that is? You'd be responsible for every divine intervention, every miraculous recovery, every moment when mortals whisper about guardian angels. The rope swayed as Skye resumed climbing, rough fibers singing against her skin. And how can I decide who deserves divine healing when I've never felt mortal pain? Never understood their desperation? That's the point of divine objectivity, is it? Skye's hand found the lip of the well, stone rough with moss that smelled of earth and age, and something else. Mortality itself, perhaps. Master Gideon has never walked among them. He dispenses healing based on cosmic balance sheets and divine mathematics. 1 child saved here, 3 elders allowed to pass there, all from his crystal tower. She hauled herself over the edge, muscles burning in a way divine bodies rarely experienced. The sensation fascinated her, this echo of limitation, of trying and struggling and overcoming. The clearing around the well was disappointing. Grass that looked like grass, trees that looked like trees, a star-filled sky that looked almost identical to home. But the air tasted different, heavier. Each breath carried weight, substance, the promise of consequence. See? Pax transformed into a raven, preening his feathers smugly. His transformation displaced the air with a soft pop that smelled of cinnamon and cosmic dust. Nothing special, dirt, plants, and... He sniffed dramatically. Is that ode a skunk? Charming. Shall we go back? We just got here. Skye brushed dirt from her practical traveling clothes. She'd traded her flowing robes for leather and linen, much to Pax's horror. The leather creaked with newness, still stiff with divine perfection. She'd have to roll in actual dirt to make it believable. Besides, you don't know where here is. I most certainly, Pax squawked, ruffling his feathers. Fine, give me a moment. He launched into the air, wings catching currents she couldn't see but could taste, thermal variations, pressure changes, the way mortal air moved with purpose instead of divine design. Skye watched him become a speck against the stars, then plummet back down like a feathered comet. Wolf Valley, he announced, landing on a branch that bowed under his negligible weight, about 3 miles northwest. I could see the town lights and, he paused dramatically, a delightful establishment called the Howling Moon Tavern with what appears to be karaoke night. Karaoke? Skye couldn't hide her curiosity. Mortals singing badly for other mortals' entertainment. Currently, someone is murdering what I believe was once a love ballad. The sound carries remarkably well, like a dying moose, with ambition. You're exaggerating. Am I? Listen. They both paused. In the distance, carried on the night wind, came the faint strains of someone attempting a high note. They had no business attempting. The sound scraped against Skye's divine hearing like nails on crystal. Oh! Skye winced, pressing her palm to her ear. That's... Told you, they're tone-deaf and proud of it. Nothing like the celestial choirs where everyone hits perfect pitch because, well, it's physically impossible not to. Skye started walking northwest, pine needles soft under her feet, trying not to laugh. The ground here held memory, centuries of footfalls, rain, growth, and decay. Each step sank slightly, rebounded differently. Mortal earth wasn't uniform like divine marble. Maybe that's what makes it beautiful, the attempt despite imperfection. Or maybe they're just drunk. Pax flew beside her, occasionally landing on her shoulder. His weight shifted with each wing beat, familiar as her own heartbeat. Speaking of which, I should mention, Wolf Valley is a shifter town. Approximately 60% werewolf, 30% human, 10% other supernaturals. Werewolves, karaoke, alcohol. This should end well. Werewolves get sick, don't they? Feel pain? More intensely than humans, actually. Their healing factor makes them... Why are you smiling? They're perfect. I can observe how enhanced healing affects their relationship with mortality. Of course you'd find the academic angle. Pax sighed dramatically, his breath smelling of honey and distant stars. Here I am trying to save you from tone-deaf wolf crooners, and you're planning medical observations. They walked in silence for a moment, the forest alive with sounds that didn't exist in the divine realm. Real crickets instead of crystalline chimes, actual wind instead of melodic breezes. Even the darkness felt different, heavier, expectant. You're afraid you'll lose your compassion. Once you take the oath, Master Gideon says mortal attachment clouds divine judgment. Skye ducked under a branch that snagged her hair, pulling with mundane insistence. He wants me to see them as cases, not people. Well, nothing says seeing mortals as people quite like watching them butcher classic rock songs while intoxicated. Pax's tone brightened. Oh, I have an idea. A wager. What kind of wager? You have tonight. Walk among these mortals, witness their pain, their joys, their questionable entertainment choices. If you find something, anything that genuinely makes you believe you need this understanding to be a true healer, I'll support your decision, even if it means defying Master Gideon. And if I don't, you return with me at dawn, complete your preparations, and take your oath knowing you gave mortality a chance. And I get to say I told you so for the next millennium. You'd do that anyway. True, but I'd have earned it. Skye considered, one night to understand what she'd be sworn to heal or ignore for eternity. Her chest tightened with something that might have been fear or excitement. In the divine realm, she'd never learned to tell the difference. Deal. She held out her finger for him to shake with his tiny claw. But you have to really look, too. Not just for their flaws. I promise to observe with scholarly neutrality, though if someone attempts freestyle rap, all bets are off. The forest thinned ahead, and Skye could see lights, electric bulbs fighting against darkness, their yellow glow so different from divine radiance. They flickered, they struggled, they burned out and were replaced. Her chest tightened with anticipation that tasted like copper and possibility. Ready to experience mortal culture at its finest? Pax asked. Based on the increasing volume, I believe someone just started a group rendition of Sweet Caroline. Even from here, she could hear the answering ba 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 from what sounded like an entire tavern. The sound vibrated through the ground, through her bones. Pure joy made audible. 300 years of divine training, Skye muttered, and nothing prepared me for this. Wait until you see mortal dancing. I once witnessed something called the worm. I'm still recovering. They headed down the hillside toward the valley, toward lights and lives and questionable entertainment, toward one night that would decide everything. Neither of them noticed the golden eyes watching from the shadow of the trees, or the low growl that rumbled through the earth like distant thunder, a sound that tasted of wildness and warning and something else Skye's divine senses couldn't quite identify. The path into town was too quiet. Skye had expected. Well, she wasn't sure what she'd expected. Divine settlements hummed with constant energy, fountains that sang, stones that glowed, air that sparkled with ambient power. But Wolf Valley's outskirts felt muffled, as if the town held its breath. Someone's following us, Pax murmured against her ear, his dragon form tense on her shoulder. I know. She'd felt it for the last quarter mile, a presence that moved when they moved, stopped when they stopped. Her divine senses, usually sharp as crystal, felt wrapped in wool here. Can you see? I'm trying. His frustration leaked through their bond. But something's wrong. My vision keeps sliding off like trying to grip water. The sensation was mutual. Every time Skye tried to focus on their follower, her perception skittered sideways. Not shielding, she knew what that felt like. This was different, older. Maybe we should... The Howling Moon Tavern exploded into view as they rounded the corner, and Skye's words died in her throat. Noise hit her like a physical wall. Not the orchestrated harmonies of divine gatherings, but pure chaotic life, laughter, arguments, that unfortunate karaoke, glasses clinking, chairs scraping, hearts beating in 100 different rhythms. The smells followed, beer and grilled meat and cigarette smoke, and underneath it all, the wild musk of predators pretending to be civilized. Oh, she breathed. Oh, indeed. Pax's claws tightened. That's a lot of werewolves in one building. Maybe we should observe from outside, but Skye was already moving, drawn like a moth to flame. The tavern's wooden doors were scarred with what looked suspiciously like claw marks. A neon sign flickered above, a howling wolf that seemed to wink at her. She pushed inside. The assault on her senses nearly drove her to her knees. Everything was too much, too loud, too bright, too immediate. Divine gatherings were filtered through eternity's lens. This was raw, unfiltered existence, crammed into a finite space and finite time. Breathe, Pax coached, though he sounded strained himself. Just breathe and, oh, blessed cosmos, is that man licking beer off the floor? 5-second rule, someone shouted, and the tavern erupted in cheers. Skye smiled. This was nothing like Master Gideon's sterile descriptions of mortal behavior. This was messy and ridiculous and gloriously alive. The golden-eyed presence slipped in behind them. She felt the door's air current change, but before she could turn, another presence materialized at her elbow. You look lost. The voice was smooth honey over broken glass. Skye turned to find herself looking up and up at possibly the most beautiful man she'd ever seen, which, given she lived among divine beings, was saying something. Dark hair fell in calculated disarray over emerald eyes. His smile revealed perfect teeth that seemed just a touch too white, too sharp. He wore expensive clothes that somehow looked casual, and he moved with the kind of grace that suggested either dancer or predator, probably both. "First time in Wolf Valley?" He extended a hand. "Marcus Thornfield. I help keep the peace around here." Pax shifted on her shoulder, scales prickling with unease. But when Skye glanced toward where their follower had been, she saw only tavern shadows. "Skye," she offered, accepting his handshake. His palm was fever warm, his grip just shy of too firm. "And yes, first time, it's very overwhelming." Marcus's laugh was rich, inviting. "The howling moon takes some getting used to. May I?" He gestured to a quieter corner booth. "You look like you could use a moment to adjust. And maybe a drink? First one's on me, town tradition for newcomers." "That's kind of you, but please." His smile widened, and something flickered in those green eyes. Not quite human, not quite not. "I insist. Can't have visitors thinking Wolf Valley doesn't show proper hospitality." He was already guiding her toward the booth, his hand light on her elbow. Professional, polite. But Skye noticed how his positioning put him between her and the door, how his gaze swept the tavern with the efficiency of someone cataloging threats. "I should mention," Pax whispered urgently, "this man smells like—" "Is that your pet?" Marcus's attention snapped to Pax with an intensity that made Skye's neck prickle. "Unusual breed. Almost looks like a miniature dragon." "He's exotic." Skye felt Pax go rigid with indignation. "From overseas." Fascinating. Marcus slid into the booth across from her, still studying Pax. "I have quite an interest in exotic animals. Used to collect them, actually, before I found more. Engaging hobbies." Something in the way he said it made Skye's divine instincts flare. But when she reached for her power to read him better, it slipped away like mercury. The mortal realm's dampening effect, she assumed. "So," Marcus leaned back, perfectly at ease, "what brings a beautiful woman to our little town? Besides the world-famous karaoke, of course." Behind him, someone began murdering "Don't Stop Believing." The crowd joined in with enthusiasm that inversely correlated to their pitch accuracy. "Research," Skye said truthfully. "I'm studying healing practices in remote communities." "A healer?" His interest sharpened. "How fortunate. We've been having some incidents lately. Animal attacks. The local doctor is overwhelmed." "Animal attacks?" Pax spoke for the first time, his tone carefully neutral. "What kind of animals?" Marcus's gaze flicked to him, and for just a moment, Skye could have sworn his eyes flashed gold. But the tavern lighting was tricky, and when she looked again, they were emerald green. "Wolves," he said simply. "Rogue ones. Nothing for you to worry about, of course. I make it my personal business to ensure visitors stay safe." He smiled again, all charm and reassurance. But Skye noticed how still the nearest tables had gone, how conversations quieted when his gaze swept past, how the bartender's hands trembled slightly as he polished an already clean glass. "That's very responsible of you," she managed. "Well, someone has to maintain order." Marcus signaled the server with 2 fingers. The town, depends on strong leadership. Speaking of which, you haven't told me where you're staying. Wolf Valley's beautiful, but it can be dangerous after dark, especially near the old properties on the hillside. "Why?" The question slipped out before Skye could stop it. His smile never wavered. "Oh, the usual small-town stories. Abandoned mansions, ghost tales, the kind of places that attract. The wrong element. But don't worry." He reached across the table, his fingertips just brushing her hand. "I'll make sure you're looked after." The touch burned, not with heat, but with wrongness, like harmony twisted into discord. Skye fought not to jerk away. She began. "Drinks first," Marcus insisted as the server appeared. "Then I'll personally escort you to the Moonrise Inn, safest lodgings in town. I own it, actually." Of course he did. Pax's tail wrapped around Skye's neck, their private signal for danger. But what could they do? They were strangers in a strange land, divine powers muted, surrounded by werewolves in a tavern that suddenly felt more like a den. and somewhere in the shadows, golden eyes watched their every move. "That's very generous," Skye heard herself say. "Thank you." Marcus's smile widened, showing those two perfect teeth. "My pleasure. After all, we take care of our own in Wolf Valley, and something tells me you're going to fit right in." The drinks arrived. Amber liquid that smelled of herbs and something wilder. Marcus raised his glass in a toast. "To new friends," he said, "and new beginnings." Skye touched her glass to his, the clink sharp as breaking bones in the tavern's din. Over Marcus's shoulder, she caught a glimpse of movement, a figure in dark clothes slipping out the back door. For just a moment, tavern light caught his profile, sharp cheekbones, jaw like carved stone, and eyes that burned gold with an intensity that made her divine soul recognize its match. Then he was gone, leaving only the memory of wild things and the certainty that she'd just made eye contact with something far more dangerous than the charming predator buying her drinks. "Everything all right?" Marcus asked, turning to follow her gaze. But the door had already closed. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "Just tired," Skye lied, tasting copper on her tongue. Divine beings weren't supposed to lie. The mortal realm was already changing her. "It's been a long journey." "Then let's get you settled." Marcus stood, all gentlemanly concern. "The inn's just a short walk. I'll have your things sent over." "I don't have things. I travel light." His pause was barely noticeable. "Of course. A true researcher. Still, you'll need supplies. Lucky for you, I know all the best shops. We'll have you properly equipped by tomorrow." He was already planning her tomorrow, already weaving her into his web with silk words and calculated kindness. And the worst part? Skye couldn't tell if he was threat or protector. Her dulled senses read only power and possession, tightly controlled. "Pax," she murmured as they followed Marcus out. "Did you see—" "Yes, this isn't random kindness, Skye. I can tell he's up to something. I can smell blood." "What? I mean the golden eyes." "What golden eyes?" "Never mind, Pax. Seen enough, Skye? We can leave early. You don't have to accept defeat." "No, we agree. I have until dawn." "You have to leave?" Marcus stated her with the question. Skye turned around. "Oh, maybe. Research Center might call tomorrow." He nodded. "I'll make sure you get out of town safely." Chapter 2. The walk to the Moonrise Inn took exactly 12 minutes and felt like 12 hours. Marcus played tour guide with the enthusiasm of someone showing off prize possessions. "That's our bakery. Best sourdough outside Melbourne. The pharmacy there stocks specialized supplements for our unique dietary needs. And the bookshop?" He smiled at the darkened storefront. "Owner's a friend. She ensures certain texts stay in the right hands." Every person they passed acknowledged him. Quick nods, averted eyes, the kind of respect that curdled into fear at the edges. A woman hurrying home actually crossed the street to avoid them. "Friendly town," Pax murmured against Skye's ear, still in his tiny dragon form. "We pride ourselves on community," Marcus said smoothly. Too smoothly. Had he heard Pax, or was he just filling silence? Skye found herself distracted by the streetlights. Such a simple concept. Darkness banished by electricity, controlled by switches and timers. The divine realm had eternal light that simply existed. These mortal solutions to basic problems fascinated her. "Watch your step." Marcus steadied her elbow as she nearly walked into a pole, staring up at the lights. "The inn's just ahead." The Moonrise Inn rose from Wolf Valley's main street, like a mansion playing dress-up as accommodation. 3 stories of pristine Victorian architecture, complete with wraparound veranda and windows that gleamed despite the late hour. The carved wooden sign swung gently in the breeze, depicting a wolf howling at a crescent moon. Inside, the lobby was all rich carpets and leather chairs, empty except for a nervous-looking clerk behind the mahogany desk. "Mr. Thornfield." The young man straightened so fast he knocked over a cup of pens. "I didn't expect, that is, welcome back." "Evening, Todd. This is Skye. She'll need our best room." Marcus leaned against the counter with casual authority. "3rd floor, corner suite." Of course, sir, right away. Todd's fingers flew over an old-fashioned ledger. No computer, Skye noticed. Interesting. Minutes later, they stood in a suite that belonged in a luxury hotel, not a small-town inn. King bed with silk sheets, bathroom with a clawfoot tub, sitting area with overstuffed chairs. Fresh flowers, roses, and something else, something that made her nose itch. Filled crystal vases. This is too much, Skye protested. I just need a simple room. Nonsense. Marcus tested the window locks, painted shut, she noticed, and adjusted the heavy curtains. Wolf Valley takes care of its guests. Besides, you're doing us a favor, studying our healing practices. It's the least we can do. He lingered by the door, green eyes studying her with an intensity that made Pax's scales prickle. Breakfast is served from 7. Though if you need anything before then, Todd's on duty all night. Just ring down. The door closed with a soft click that sounded oddly final. Pax shifted into the floor lamp, then morphed into a vase, and then back to his a tiny dragon form. Stay in one form, Pax. Marcus saw you in the dragon form. Don't blow your cover. Agreed. We should have left when we had the chance. What chance? Skye tested the bed's softness, marveling at how different it felt from her divine cloud mattress. He hasn't let us out of his sight since the tavern. Exactly, Pax flew to the window, pressing his snout against the glass. And this whole place reeks. Blood, fear, and those flowers. Wolfsbane, if I'm not mistaken. Nothing good comes from wolfsbane, Skye. It's like hanging a sign that says, supernatural things we don't like, stay out. But I'm supernatural. Yes, well, he doesn't know that yet. Pax abandoned the window to investigate the bathroom. Oh, this is interesting. Running water through metal pipes. How inefficient. Do you know in the divine realm we simply... A crash from downstairs cut him off, followed by shouting. Skye was out the door before Pax could protest a gas, following the sounds of distress down carpeted stairs. In the lobby, a small crowd had gathered around someone on the floor. Give her space. Marcus's voice, but different now. Strained. Almost afraid? Skye pushed through to find a young woman convulsing on the Persian rug. Todd knelt beside her, white-faced and shaking. It just happened. One second she was filing receipts, the next... We need to get her to the hospital, someone said. No! Marcus's response was too sharp, too fast. He moderated his tone. That is, we can't. The nearest hospital is in Gisborne. They're not. Equipped for our kind of emergencies. The silence that followed was deafening. Dr. Chen died last week. Heart attack. We're still waiting for a replacement from the city. The woman's convulsions worsened. Foam appeared at the corners of her mouth. I can help, Skye heard herself say. Marcus turned those green eyes on her. You said you study healing practices. That's not the same as... My methods are unconventional. She was already kneeling beside the woman, divine instincts overriding common sense. But effective. I need privacy. Everyone out. I don't think... Out! The authority in her voice surprised everyone, including herself. Unless you'd prefer to watch her die? Marcus held her gaze for a long moment. Then he stood, gesturing sharply. You heard her. Everyone out. Todd, clear the lobby. The space emptied with suspicious efficiency. Even small towns didn't usually evacuate that fast. But Skye had bigger problems. This is a terrible idea, Pax hissed, the second they were alone. Article 7, subsection 3 of the Divine Intervention Code clearly states, She's dying, Pax. Skye placed her hands over the woman's heart, feeling the erratic rhythm. I can feel it. Doesn't matter. Divine beings cannot interfere in mortal realm matters without formal petition. She needs to pray first. She's unconscious. Still counts as unsolicited interference. Pax paced frantically around the convulsing woman. Do you want to end up in divine prison? Because this is how you end up in divine prison. They have a whole wing for do-gooders who couldn't follow basic protocols. Then make her pray. Skye's hands began to glow with soft golden light. She held it back, but barely. Make her... How exactly does one make an unconscious person pray? but Pax was already shape-shifting. First into a miniature angel, complete with tiny harp. He leaned close to the woman's ear. Pray to the healing God. Come on, just think it. One little prayer. Nothing. He tried a different approach, becoming a church bell and ringing softly. Still nothing. Pax! Skye's control was slipping. The divine light wanted to heal. It didn't understand bureaucracy. I'm trying. He shifted into a choir boy, then a prayer book, then, desperately, a piece of toast with what might have been a holy image burned into it. The woman's lips moved slightly, the faintest whisper. Help, please. That counts, Pax shouted. Technically counts. Go, go, go! Skye released the divine light. The lobby filled with golden radiance that tasted of starlight and eternity. The woman's body arched off the floor as healing energy poured through her. But mortal bodies were so much more complex than divine ones. So many redundant systems, so much that could go wrong. Why is her appendix glowing? Skye muttered. How should I know? I studied divine anatomy, not, oh no, someone's coming. Pax's warning came just as footsteps approached. Everything all right in there? Marcus called through the door. Pax immediately shifted into a perfect replica of Skye's head and shoulders, floating beside her. Fine, he called in her voice. Just medical things, very technical. The spleen's not supposed to be that color, is it? Skye whispered frantically. I don't know. Make it stop glowing. All of it needs to stop glowing before... The door handle turned. Skye yanked the divine light back so fast it felt like ripping off her own skin. The woman gasped, eyes flying open just as Marcus entered. Remarkable, he said softly, taking in the scene. The woman sitting up, confused but clearly healthy. Skye kneeling beside her, looking perfectly normal except for the light sheen of sweat on her forehead. No trace of golden light. No evidence of divine intervention, except for the fact that 30 seconds ago, this woman had been dying. How do you feel? Skye asked the woman, mainly because she had no idea what else to say. Good? Really good, actually. The woman, her name tag read Emma, touched her chest in wonder, like I just woke up from the best sleep of my life. I'll call your brother to take you home, Emma. Marcus pulled out a square device. Seeing Skye looking at the device, he arched an eyebrow. You haven't seen a cell phone before? What? Oh no, I mean yes. I just remember I forgot mine at home. I can fix that. The boys will bring you a new cell phone tomorrow. Oh, there is no need. I'll go home soon. I don't use the phone a lot. Dr. Chen's death has been hard on everyone, Marcus said smoothly, but his gaze never left Skye. Where did you say you studied medicine? I didn't. Which was true, she hadn't said. Traditional methods passed down through, family. How fortunate for us. If you could stay a little longer until we find a replacement, that would be much appreciated. Doctor wouldn't say no to a town in need of medical attention, right? His smile didn't reach his eyes. Todd, help Emma to the staff room. She should rest. And perhaps some tea? She nodded. Tea would be nice. Marcus made a few more arrangements, then exited. The door closed with that same final click. That went well, Pax said dryly, shifting back to dragon form. He definitely doesn't suspect you're a divine being who just performed illegal healing in his lobby. Nope, not at all. At least Emma's alive. Skye moved to the window, needing air even if she couldn't open it. That's when she saw the wolf. Massive, black as midnight except for those golden eyes. It sat perfectly still in the garden across the street, watching her window. When their eyes met, it tilted its head slightly, acknowledging, knowing. Pax, look. But when she blinked, the wolf was gone. Only shadows and moonlight remained. What? Pax joined her at the window. Nothing. I thought I saw. She shook her head. I'm tired. Divine intervention without proper authorization is exhausting. Good. Maybe next time you'll follow protocol. Pax flew toward the bathroom. I'm taking a bath. Do you know how hard it is to shapeshift into toast? Toast. The things I do for you. His grumbling faded behind the bathroom door. Skye remained at the window, scanning the shadows. Nothing moved. When she finally turned away, she nearly stepped on the envelope that had been slipped under her door. Expensive paper, the kind that whispered wealth and old traditions. Her name written in careful script. Inside, a single line in the same elegant handwriting. You should not be here. Whose are? She asked when Pax emerged, scales still damp. He examined the note with scholarly interest. Someone with excellent penmanship for a wolf. Also, someone who knows you're here and doesn't approve. This night just keeps getting better. Skye folded the note carefully, tucking it into her pocket. The paper felt warm against her fingers, like it held traces of the hand that wrote it. Somewhere in Wolf Valley, a wolf howled, long and low and lonely. The sound followed her into sleep, where she dreamed of golden eyes and healing light, and a voice that whispered warnings she couldn't quite understand. Chapter 3. Skye woke to the smell of bacon and the sound of Pax swearing in 17 dead language, iron filings. He hovered near the door, scales flickering an angry red. The bastard lined the doorframe with iron filings and replaced the wolfsbane with fresh bundles. We're not guests, Skye. We're specimens in a very comfortable jar. She sat up, noticing the breakfast tray that hadn't been there when she'd fallen asleep. Steam still rose from scrambled eggs, and that bacon that smelled like heaven and normalcy and everything the divine realm's ambrosial fruits weren't. How did they get in without waking us? She padded to the door, touching the frame. The iron made her fingertips tingle, not painful like it would be for full fae, but unpleasant. Wolf stealth, or Marcus has a key, probably both. Pax landed on the breakfast tray, eyeing the bacon with suspicion. This is what happens when you break divine protocol. One unauthorized healing, and suddenly you're the town's pet miracle worker. A knock interrupted his lecture. Skye opened the door to find Todd, arms full of packages and looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Morning, Miss, Doctor Skye?" He thrust the packages at her. "Mr. Thornfield sent these. Said you'd need proper equipment if you're seeing patients." "Patients?" Skye juggled a white coat, a leather medical bag that looked older than Wolf Valley itself, and a small box. "I'm not 9 o'clock. Mrs. Henderson's arthritis is acting up. Then Jimmy Chen at 9:30 for his breathing troubles. Booked solid till noon." Todd backed away like she might protest. "Mr. Thornfield says to thank you for stepping up in our time of need." The door clicked shut before Skye could explain she wasn't stepping up for anything. "Oh, this is rich." Pax investigated the medical bag. "Stethoscope, blood pressure cuff, and is this a bone saw? What exactly does he expect you to do with a bone saw?" "Maybe it's decorative?" Skye held up the white coat. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. "How does he even know my size?" "Wolves. Probably smelled your measurements." Pax shuddered. "Check the box." Inside lay a cell phone already charged and programmed. The contacts list had one entry: Marcus, emergency. "Subtle," Skye muttered, as a brick through glass. Pax shifted to his dragon form, perching on her shoulder. "So what's the plan? Pretend you know medicine until we can escape? Unless you have a better idea?" I had a great idea. It was called Leave Before the Scary Wolf Man Traps Us. But no, someone had to heal the dying human. At 9 sharp, another knock. Mrs. Henderson stood in the hallway, 70-ish, silver-haired and moving like her joints were made of broken glass. "Dr. Skye? Mr. Thornfield said you'd help with my arthritis. Been killing me since the weather turned." She smiled, but her eyes held the same wary respect everyone showed when Marcus's name came up. "Course, it's been worse since our alpha got sick. Stress affects the whole pack, you know." Skye ushered her in, mind racing. "Your alpha? Mr. Thornfield mentioned something about pack structure." "Oh, he would." Mrs. Henderson lowered herself onto the sofa with a pained grunt. "Course, Marcus ain't alpha yet, not officially. That's still Ryder, poor boy. But with him cursed and all." "Cursed?" Skye kept her voice carefully neutral while examining Mrs. Henderson's swollen knuckles. The arthritis was obvious even to her untrained eye, joints hot and angry with inflammation. "Shouldn't gossip." But Mrs. Henderson's eyes sparkled with the universal light of someone who definitely would gossip. Terrible thing what happened up at the Thornfield estate. Ryder was such a good alpha. Strong, fair. Nothing like his father. May the moon rest his soul. But then, alphas don't have to be cruel to be effective, do they? Skye pressed gently on a particularly swollen joint, letting a whisper of divine healing seep through. Not enough to cure, that would be suspicious, but enough to ease. And Marcus is his. Cousin, been managing things since Ryder took sick. Mrs. Henderson's face relaxed as the pain eased. Oh, that's lovely, dear. You've got healing hands. Marcus found a treasure in you. The phrasing made Skye's skin crawl. Found. Like she was a lost object. This curse, she ventured, working on the other hand. Is it something that could be healed? Mrs. Henderson's expression shuddered. Nothing can break what was done to that boy. Best we can hope is he finds peace before his term runs out and Marcus officially takes over. When would that be? Full moon, 3 weeks hence. Mrs. Henderson flexed her fingers in wonder. My lord, girl, what did you do? Haven't felt this good in years. Traditional methods. Skye helped her stand. You should feel better for a few days. Come back if the pain returns. Oh, I'll be singing your praises to everyone. Mrs. Henderson paused at the door. Word of advice, dear? Stay away from the hill. The old Thornfield place ain't safe. Hasn't been since the curse struck. Marcus is right to keep folks away. After she left, Pax emerged from hiding in the medical bag. Did you catch that? 3 weeks until Marcus becomes alpha. Want to bet that's when your research conveniently ends? The morning flew by in a parade of wolf ailments. Jimmy Chen's breathing troubles turned out to be anxiety about his uncle, the late doctor, manifesting as panic attacks. A young mother brought twins with teething problems. Baby werewolves, Skye discovered, teethed on metal, not rubber. Is that normal? She'd whispered to Pax while the mother wasn't looking. How should I know? Do I look like a wolf pediatrician? Each patient dropped breadcrumbs about Ryder, how he'd been the youngest alpha in generations, how the pack had prospered under his leadership, how the curse had struck just when he'd refused some alliance his father had arranged. Politics, muttered Mr. Jameson, a gruff plumber with a separated shoulder. That's what cursed our boy, politics and bad blood. His father made enemies, and Ryder paid the price. By noon, Skye's head spun with medical terms she'd learned on the fly and pack dynamics that seemed to shift like smoke. The white coat felt less like a disguise and more like a trap, with every patient who thanked her for staying to help. Lunch break, she announced to the empty waiting room. I need supplies, bandages, medicines, things. I'll escort you. Marcus materialized from nowhere, looking unfairly perfect in jeans and a black Henley that probably cost more than most people's rent. Can't have our new doctor getting lost. I can manage. I insist. His smile promised consequences for refusal. Besides, I own most of the shops. I'll make sure you get the best prices. The walk through town felt like a parade. Every wolf they passed acknowledged Marcus with that same fear-respect, but now they looked at Skye, too. Some with hope, others with pity. You're doing wonderfully, Marcus said, steering her past a shop with dusty windows. Mrs. Henderson hasn't stopped talking about her miracle cure. It wasn't a miracle, just pressure points. Of course. His hand on her elbow guided her away from a side street. She caught a glimpse of a dirt road winding uphill before buildings blocked her view. The pharmacy's this way. But Skye had seen enough. That road led to the hill everyone warned her about. In the pharmacy, Marcus selected supplies with practiced efficiency while regaling the owner with Skye's amazing healing gift. Each word felt like another bar in an invisible cage. I need to research local medical history, Skye said when they emerged. Is there a library? Marcus's pause was microscopic. Bottom of Main Street. But surely that can wait. You have patients this afternoon. Quick stop, professional curiosity. His smile tightened. I'll come with Marcus. A young wolf jogged up, face tight with worry. Fight at the lumber yard, Blake and Connell, it's bad. Marcus's mask slipped, revealing something cold underneath. How bad? Blake mentioned the old days, before. Connell took exception. Go, she said quickly. I'll find my way back. Marcus looked torn between duty and control. Duty won. Todd will escort you back to the inn, he said, already moving. Don't wander. Todd shook his head. Blake shouldn't have mentioned Ryder, but what can you do? He's from the Ryder camp. What's the other camp? Marcus? Skye asked, but didn't expect an answer. Todd sighed. They're both the Thornfields. Supposed to be on the same side. He looked at Skye. I've said too much. You can find more in the library. The word library sounded like heaven's bell to Skye's ears, and Todd looked as if he would let her go. Todd walked away. Go, Escape. Go back to the well. We're going home. Now, Pax said. She could go, leaving all of this behind, but this town, there was a need for her help, for her to do something meaningful. That's an excuse, Pax muttered. Since when do I allow you to read my mind, Pax? Well, since we can't speak freely in the human world, you just couldn't let go, could you? You must know what happened to the sick Thornfield. Well, he's sick wolf. If he's sick, then I can definitely help. If I walk away after I know this, what kind of healer will I be? Pax sighed. Again, just an excuse. For what, Pax? Never mind. I'll stick around to help you. What's the worst that can happen? I'll turn into toast again? It was one of those small-town libraries that smelled of old paper and lemon polish, presided over by a stern-looking woman with silver glasses on a chain. Help you? She looked up from stamping books with actual stamps. The Divine Realm had thought transfer libraries. This was delightfully analog. Local history section? Back corner. Though if you're looking for anything recent, newspaper archives are in the basement. Skye found the newspaper archives easily enough. Boxes of yellowed papers, some digitized onto ancient computers, others still in their original form. She pulled a box labeled with dates from earlier that year. The headline jumped out like a slap. Thornfield heir cursed. Pack fears for future. The article was frustratingly vague. Ryder Thornfield struck by mysterious ailment, unable to maintain wolf form. Pack hierarchy in temporary upheaval. Marcus Thornfield stepping in as interim leader. You shouldn't be reading that. Skye spun to find a woman her own age watching from the shadows. Red hair, sharp features, eyes that held too much knowledge. I'm researching. I know what you're researching. The woman moved closer. I also know Marcus has you playing doctor while he tightens his noose around this town. Question is, which camp are you in? I'm just trying to help. Ryder? Or Marcus? The woman's smile was blade sharp, because you can't help both. And reading old newspapers won't tell you what you really need to know. Which is, that Ryder Thornfield isn't sick. He's cursed. And curses can be broken if someone's brave enough to try. She pulled a folded paper from her pocket. Consider this a gift from those who remember what real leadership looks like. The woman vanished between the stacks before Skye could respond. The paper contained an address and a single line. The answers you seek are where the roses grow wild. Cryptic much? Pax muttered from her pocket. Skye's phone, Marcus's phone, buzzed. A text. Where are you? Time to go. She tucked the paper away and headed upstairs. Todd waited outside, looking miserable. Mr. Thornfield says you have patients waiting. The afternoon blurred together. A teenager with a broken wrist that had healed wrong. An elderly man with silver poisoning from wearing the wrong jewelry. Each patient seemed more serious than the morning crowd, as if Marcus was testing her limits. The final patient made her blood run cold. The wolf lay on a makeshift stretcher, blood seeping through rough bandages. His packmates carried him in, faces grim. What happened? Skye knelt beside him, divine instinct screaming. Said the wrong name in the wrong company, one answered. Marcus's supporters don't take kindly to folks speaking fondly of the true alpha. The wound was deep, deliberately placed to cause maximum pain while avoiding vital organs. A warning. Everyone out, Skye ordered. When they hesitated, she let authority ring in her voice. Now. Alone with Pax, she worked. Divine light flowed, carefully controlled. The wound closed, leaving only the faintest scar. But she was tired now, the repeated healings draining her reserves. "You're getting sloppy," Pax warned. That last bit of light was visible. He was right. When she opened the door, Marcus stood in the hallway, green eyes calculating. "Miraculous recovery," he said softly. "One might almost think it was. Magical. Modern medicine can seem that way." Skye kept her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "Indeed." He studied her face. "You look tired. Perhaps you should rest." It wasn't a suggestion. Back in her room, Skye found dinner waiting and her window now sporting new locks, iron locks. "No mere healer could do what you did today," Marcus had said before leaving. "I look forward to discovering what you really are, Dr. Skye." The lock clicked with finality. "So," Pax said, investigating their upgraded prison, "still think helping people is worth it?" Skye moved to the window, studying the new locks. Iron, but not blessed. Strong enough to stop a wolf, probably. But she wasn't a wolf. That woman in the library. She said roses grow wild somewhere. She tested the window frame. Solid, but the locks were attached to wood. Wood could break. And the hill. Everyone's so careful to warn me away. "You're thinking of going there." "I'm thinking Ryder needs a healer." She pulled the note from her pocket. The paper that had appeared under her door last night. The warm handwriting. "And I need answers." This is a terrible idea. But Pax was already examining the window mechanism. You know that, right? Marcus has probably got the place surrounded. And even if you reach this Ryder, he's cursed. Curses aren't like arthritis, Skye. They're divine magic gone wrong. All the more reason he needs divine help. She found her travel clothes, the leather and linen from her arrival. "Can you shapeshift into something that can break these locks?" "Can I?" "Of course I can. I'm insulted you even ask." He became a tiny crowbar, then a lockpick, then, with a pop of displaced air, a miniature battering ram. But not until after midnight. Iron's weaker during the witching hours. Basic supernatural physics. Skye settled in to wait, watching the sun sink toward the hills. Somewhere up there, in a mansion everyone feared, an alpha waited alone with his curse. 3 weeks until the full moon. 3 weeks until Marcus officially took over. Unless someone broke the curse first. "This is still a terrible idea," Pax muttered, shifting back to dragon form. "All the best adventures are," Skye replied and began to plan. The window locks glinted in the dying light, iron strong and wolf-proof. But at midnight, when the boundary between worlds grew thin and divine magic sang loudest, they'd be just metal attached to wood. And she'd always been good at breaking things that tried to cage her. Chapter 4. The iron locks glared at Skye in the moonlight, smug in their wolf-proof superiority. "Ready?" Pax perched on the windowsill, scales shimmering with anticipation. Watch the master at work. He transformed with a flourish into a tiny brass key. Skye picked him up, squinting. "This is for a diary." "What? No!" His indignant voice emerged from the keyhole. "I'm clearly a... Oh dear." He shifted again, a skeleton key this time, ancient and ornate. "Pax, that's for a treasure chest." "I know what I'm... Fine." Another shift, a modern car key, complete with electronic fob. "Are you serious right now?" "I don't see you helping." He became a bobby pin, then a credit card, then, inexplicably, a tiny butter knife. "Just become a hammer," Skye hissed, aware of every passing second. "We'll break it." Brute force? How undignified. But he transformed into a small sledgehammer. "This is barbaric. We could have..." Crack. The lock split under Skye's swing, wood splintering around the iron. The window swung open to cool night air and freedom. "See?" She grabbed her travel clothes. Sometimes the direct approach. Howls erupted from somewhere in the inn. Close. Too close. "Go, go, go." Pax shifted to dragon form as Skye squeezed through the window. 3 stories down looked much higher from outside. Divine bones wouldn't break, but they'd definitely complain. She grabbed the drain pipe, rust flaking under her fingers, and half climbed, half fell to the ground. "Graceful," Pax muttered, landing beside her, "like a sack of holy potatoes. Shut up and run." They sprinted through Wolf Valley's empty streets, keeping to shadows. The town that had seemed quaint in daylight became a maze of potential threats in darkness. Every shadow could hide a wolf. Every sound made her heart race. "Left!" Pax hissed. "Patrol coming!" They dove behind a dumpster as two wolves padded past, human intelligence gleaming in their eyes. The smell, rotting food and something worse, made Skye gag. "I've been in celestial choirs," Pax whispered miserably. "I've perched on clouds of pure starlight, and now I'm crouched behind mortal garbage. Builds character. I hate character." The wolves passed. They ran again, feet slapping against pavement, then dirt, then moss as town gave way to forest. The trees closed around them like sanctuary. Skye finally stopped, lungs burning. "I think we—" Eyes. Yellow eyes, not gold, surrounded them. A dozen wolves emerged from the underbrush, scarred and lean where Marcus's pack had been well fed. These weren't Thornfield wolves. "Well, well," the largest shifted, becoming a man with graying hair and cruel features. "The healer Marcus has been hiding." "How fortunate." "I'm not hidden." Skye straightened despite her racing heart. "I'm just geographically challenged." He smiled, showing too many teeth. "Blackmore Pack has need of a healer. You'll come with us." "I have other plans, thanks." "Wasn't a request, love." He nodded to his wolves. "Take her. Kill the pet." "Pet?" Pax squeaked indignantly. The wolves lunged. Skye's divine light flared instinctively, but there were too many. Teeth and claws and savage intelligence working in concert. She managed to blind two with a burst of power, but others were already— A roar shook the forest. Not a sound, a force, a presence that made every wolf freeze and Skye's divine soul sing in recognition. He came from the shadows like death itself. Massive, black as midnight except for those burning golden eyes. The wolf from town. The Watcher. But here, in his territory, he was magnificent. The Blackmore wolves hesitated. Their leader snarled. "Thornfield, still playing alpha?" The black wolf's response was pure violence. He moved like liquid darkness, like poetry written in tooth and claw. No wasted motion, no mercy. Bodies flew, bones cracked, and the Blackmore wolves learned why, even cursed, even broken, Ryder Thornfield was alpha. "Retreat!" The leader shifted back, clutching a mangled arm. "This isn't over, Thornfield. When you're stuck in one form, when Marcus rules—" The black wolf's growl cut him off. The Blackmore Pack fled, leaving only blood and humiliation behind. Golden eyes turned to Skye. Up close, she could see the intelligence there, the pain, the exhaustion of a man who just fought a dozen wolves after what she now knew was an agonizing transformation. "Thank you," she whispered. He huffed, the sound almost dismissive, then turned and padded deeper into the forest. "I think he wants us to follow," Pax murmured, still shaken. "You think?" The journey was silent except for forest sounds and her own heartbeat. The black wolf led them up hidden paths, through streams that would hide their scent, past markers only he could see. His gait was steady, but she caught him favoring his right side. Blood matted his fur from a dozen wounds. The forest opened to reveal the mansion. Gothic towers reached toward stars, stone walls covered in climbing roses that bloomed impossibly in the darkness. The air itself felt different here, charged with old magic that made her divine nature sing. Not dampened like in town, enhanced. "Oh," she breathed. The wolf glanced back, and she could have sworn she saw satisfaction in those golden eyes, pride in his domain, even cursed as it was. Inside, the foyer was all aged wood and dusty grandeur. The wolf collapsed as soon as the door closed, sides heaving. "You're hurt." Skye knelt beside him, healing light already gathering. "Let me—" The snarl that erupted from his throat was pure warning. Lips pulled back from fangs longer than her fingers, hackles raised, every line of his body screaming danger. She jerked back. "I'm trying to help." But the change was already beginning. Where transformation in stories looked mystical, this was torture. Bones breaking and reforming, muscle tearing and reknitting, fur receding like tide running backward. His howls of pain echoed through the mansion, primal and wrong. When it ended, a man lay where the wolf had been. Skye forgot to breathe. Ryder Thornfield was devastating. Dark hair fell over a face carved by dangerous angels, sharp cheekbones, jaw that could cut glass, mouth made for sin and sorrow. His body. Goddess help her, his body was a study in lethal grace. Broad shoulders, chest marked with scars that told stories, abs that, "Eyes up here, divine girl." His voice was whiskey and gravel and dark amusement. She jerked her gaze to his face, cheeks burning. Those golden eyes watched her with knowing mockery. He stood with predatory grace, completely unconcerned with his nakedness, and grabbed a robe from a hook by the door. The movement was practiced. How many times had he done this? How many nights of pain? "You're an idiot," he said conversationally, belting the robe. "Blackmore Pack would have kept you as breeding stock. Healers are rare. Divine healers?" He laughed, bitter as winter wind. "They'd have worn you out in a year." "I was trying to help your people." "They're not my people." The words cracked like a whip. "Not anymore. Can't be alpha if you can't hold your wolf form. Can't protect if you're trapped in human skin when danger comes calling." He turned to leave, favoring his right leg where deep claw marks bled through the robe. "You're hurt," she said again. "I'll heal." "You're being stubborn." "I'm being realistic." He paused at the staircase, not looking back. "Door's there. Leave or stay, I don't care. But I won't rescue you again. Stupidity should hurt." "But you did rescue me." "I protected my territory. You happened to be in it." His knuckles were white on the banister. "Don't read more into it than that." He limped up the stairs, leaving her standing in a puddle of confusion and inexplicable hurt. "Well," Pax said after a moment, "he's charming." "Shut up." "Master can be difficult." They spun to find a gargoyle in a butler's uniform, bowing slightly. His stone features managed to look apologetic. "Grim, at your service. Please forgive Master Ryder. The curse has been trying." "Trying?" A brownie bustled in, all of 4 feet tall in righteous indignation. "Boy's got the manners of a rabid badger. I'm Bertha, dear. You'll be needing tea and looking at those scratches. Blackmore Pack." She spat. "Wouldn't know honor if it bit them in their mangy—" "Bertha." Grim's tone was warning. "Well, they wouldn't." She turned to Skye with motherly concern. "Come along, then. Let's get you sorted." More servants appeared as they were led to a sitting room. A will-o'-the-wisp named Iris floating near the ceiling. A possessed suit of armor called Clank. A phoenix feather duster named Ember who immediately took interest in Pax. "Another shapeshifter," Ember cooed. "Oh, it's been ages. What's your base form?" While Pax preened under the attention, Bertha tended Skye's scratches and Grim served tea that smelled like moonlight and comfort. "How long has he been cursed?" Skye asked. The servants exchanged looks. 6 months, Grim said carefully, though it feels longer. Each transformation is worse than the last. "Soon he won't be able to shift at all," Bertha added, voice heavy with sorrow. "Must choose his final form before the full moon." 3 weeks. "And if he doesn't choose?" "The magic chooses for him. Randomly? Permanently." Skye's tea cooled in her hands. "There must be something." "He's tried everything, dear." Iris flickered sadly. "Divine healers, witch doctors, blood magic." "Nothing breaks it. He's given up." "Masters don't give up," Clank protested, voice echoing in his helmet. "This one has." Bertha's expression was fierce. Too proud to show weakness, too stubborn to accept help, especially from— She cut herself off. "From?" Skye prompted. Another exchanged look. "The curse was cast using magic," Grim said quietly. "He has difficulties trusting anything that glows with holy light. Divine magic? Someone like her had done this to him. "But you're different," Ember said quickly. "We can tell. You actually care." "Might be the only hope he has left," Bertha muttered into her tea. "Don't." Grimm's voice was sharp. "Don't put that on the girl. Master Ryder wouldn't thank us for—" A howl cut through the mansion. Pain and rage and something that sounded like grief. "He's trying to shift again," Iris whispered. "He does this every night, trying to hold on to his wolf." Another howl. Skye was on her feet before she realized she'd moved. "Where are you going?" Pax called. "He's in pain. He told you to leave him alone." "When have I ever done what I'm told?" She followed the sounds through dusty hallways lined with portraits of Thornfield's past, up a grand staircase, down a corridor where shadows felt alive. The howls led her to massive double doors. She pushed them open. Ryder was on the floor, half transformed. Wolf legs, human torso, face caught between man and beast. His back arched in agony as the magic fought itself, trying to complete a change his body could no longer sustain. "Get out!" The words were barely human through his elongated jaw. "No." She knelt beside him, divine light already flowing. He tried to pull away, but the pain held him captive. "Don't, divine magic caused. Shut up and let me help." Her light touched him and he screamed. But she felt it now, the curse. Divine magic, yes, but twisted, corrupted, turned against its purpose. Someone had taken healing light and made it harm. She couldn't break it, not yet, but she could ease the transition, smooth the jagged edges where wolf and man fought for dominance. Slowly, agonizingly, he returned to human form. They sat on his bedroom floor, breathing hard. He was naked again, but she kept her eyes on his face. Those golden eyes stared at her with something between fury and wonder. "What did you do?" "Ease the pain. I can't break it, but I can—" "Why?" The word was raw. "Why would you help me?" "Because you're hurting." Simple. True. "And because someone who looks like me did this to you." His laugh was broken glass. "Looks like you. Pretty divine healer playing with mortal lives." "I'm not playing." "No?" He stood, grabbing another robe. This room had several, she noticed. "Then what are you doing in my cursed mansion, little goddess?" The little goddess rankled. She stood too, chin raised, trying to help someone too stubborn to accept it. "I don't need help. You're on the floor screaming. It's temporary. It's killing you. Good." The word exploded from him. "Better dead than useless. Better wolf forever than failed alpha, who couldn't protect his pack from—" He cut himself off, jaw clenched. "From?" she pressed. "Get out. Ryder, get out." She left, but not before catching the expression that flickered across his face. Beneath the anger, the pain, the stubborn pride, she'd seen something else. Fear. Ryder Thornfield, alpha of the Thornfield pack, was terrified, and somehow that made her want to help him even more. Back in her guest room, Pax was already nest building on the enormous bed. "Well?" He looked up expectantly. "How did the grumpy naked man take your help?" "About as well as expected." She flopped beside him, staring at the ceiling. "He's infuriating. And gorgeous. Goddess help me, Pax, he's absolutely gorgeous. Even mid-transformation, even snarling at me, even being a complete ass." "You've got it bad." "I've known him for an hour." "And spent half of it staring at his abs." "I was not—" She threw a pillow at him. "Okay, maybe a little, but did you see them?" "He looks like he was carved from marble by someone with very specific fantasies about—" "La la la!" Pax covered his ears. "Cannot hear you. Divine beings don't lust." "I'm not lusting. I'm appreciating mortal aesthetics." "Is that what we're calling it?" She pulled a pillow over her face. "He hates me. He hates divine magic. Maybe the curse is built from dark magic magic? He can't see a difference between dark magic and healing magic, Pax. Then make him see." Pax curled against her side. "You've got 3 weeks. Better than the one night you asked for back home." From somewhere in the mansion came another howl, Lonely, defiant, beautiful. He's going to be difficult about this, she murmured. And you love a challenge. She did. Goddess help her, she really did. Especially when the challenge had golden eyes, a body like sin, and a curse that needed breaking by someone who understood that healing meant more than just fixing what was broken. Chapter 5. Ryder descended the stairs at dawn, fully dressed for the first time in months. Black shirt, dark jeans, boots, armor against unwanted house guests. The leather creaked with each step, unfamiliar after months of bare feet and borrowed robes. She'd be gone by now. Had to be. No one stayed after seeing him shift, after witnessing the monster beneath the man. The smell of bacon stopped him cold. Not just bacon, coffee, rich and dark, mixing with something sweeter. Cinnamon? His traitorous stomach clenched with hunger he'd been ignoring for days. But underneath the breakfast scents was something else. Starlight and rain, divine magic and stubborn woman. She was still here. Laughter drifted from the dining room. Actual laughter, bright as silver bells in his cursed mansion, where joy had died with his humanity. He pushed through the doors to find her at his table, still in yesterday's travel clothes, hair twisted in a messy bun that exposed the elegant line of her neck. Morning light caught the golden strands that had escaped, creating a halo effect that made his teeth ache. She was mid-story, hands animated, while his treacherous servants hung on every word. And then Pax turned into a chandelier, but forgot chandeliers are heavy, so he crashed right through the... She noticed him and smiled. Actually smiled, like sunshine had taken residence at his breakfast table. "Good morning. You're still here." The words came out flat, dangerous. A predator's warning. Excellent observation. She took a deliberate bite of toast, and he watched her throat work as she swallowed. Even that simple motion made heat pool low in his gut. "Bertha makes amazing strawberry jam." "Best in the valley," Bertha preened, shooting him a look that dared him to throw out their guest. "You were supposed to leave." He remained in the doorway, hands fisted so tight his knuckles ached. If he entered the room, if he sat at that table where she glowed like everything good he couldn't have, was I? She tilted her head, studying him with those impossible eyes. "I don't recall agreeing to that. I told you to go." "You told me you wouldn't rescue me again." Different thing entirely. She poured tea with maddening calm, but he caught the slight tremor in her fingers. Not fear, something else. "Sugar? I don't..." He stopped, jaw clenched so hard his teeth creaked. "You can't stay here." "Why not?" "Because I said so." Her laugh was bright and utterly unimpressed. "Oh well, if you said so. Should I curtsy before I ignore you, or is the ignoring sufficient?" Grim made a sound suspiciously like a snort. Even the gargoyle was betraying him. "This isn't a game." Ryder stalked into the room, unable to help himself. Each step brought him deeper into her orbit, drowning in that divine warmth, that scent of starlight and stubborn woman that made his wolf whine with want. "You have no idea what you're playing with." "Then explain it to me." She met his glare steadily, those impossible eyes holding compassion he didn't deserve. "Help me understand why you're so determined to suffer alone." "I'm not suffering. I'm cursed. There's a difference." "Is there?" She stood, moving closer. Too close. He could see gold flecks in her eyes, could count the freckles across her nose, 7 on the left, 5 on the right. Her pulse fluttered at the base of her throat, quick as hummingbird wings. This close, her scent wrapped around him like silk chains, and his wolf pressed against his skin, desperate to touch, to claim, to... Because from where I'm standing, the curse is just the excuse. The suffering is a choice. Heat flared in his chest, anger safer than the wild hunger her proximity inspired. She had no idea what she was asking, no idea what beasts could do to divine things. His father had told him once, hadn't he? After the incident with the rabbit when he was 7, blood on his young hands and horror in his heart. "You'd be better off a vegetarian, boy." That softness in you, that guilt, it'll get you killed. Or worse, get someone else killed. You know nothing about... The shift hit without warning. One moment he was man, the next his bones were breaking, reshaping. The coffee mug in Bertha's hand shattered as his body convulsed. He heard Skye's sharp intake of breath, tasted her shock in the air like copper pennies. But all he could do was ride the agony as his body betrayed him again. The curse didn't care about dignity, didn't care that he was trying to have a civilized conversation. It ripped through him with gleeful malice, showing her exactly what she'd signed up for. Wolf. He was Wolf, breakfast forgotten, clothes shredded on the floor. The remnants of his shirt tangled around one paw, and he shook it off with violent disgust. She knelt before him, one hand extended. "Ryder?" Her voice held no fear, only concern, only care he couldn't accept, couldn't deserve, couldn't survive. He snarled, backing away. The sound rumbled from deep in his chest, all the words he couldn't say made manifest. This was what he'd wanted to avoid, her seeing him weak, helpless at the curse's mercy. But maybe this was better. Show her the monster, make her run, save her from hoping she could save him. He turned and leaped through the French doors, glass shattering in his wake. The shards bit into his paws, but he welcomed the pain. Physical hurt he understood. It was the ache in his chest when she called his name that threatened to undo him. "Master!" Grim called, but he was already gone, racing toward the forest, toward the hunt, toward blood that might make her understand. The woods knew him, welcomed their cursed prince. Pine needles soft under his paws, morning mist clinging to the hollows. Here he could pretend the wolf was all he was. Here he could forget the man who wanted impossible things. But even here, he felt her following. Her divine presence like a second sun warming his back as she stumbled through undergrowth in completely inappropriate shoes. The deer's scent hit him, young buck, healthy, grazing in the clearing ahead. His father's voice echoed, "Vegetarian would suit you better." All that conscience. But conscience wouldn't save her from him. Wouldn't show her what she needed to see. He'd been merciful with the Blackmore wolves. Quick, efficient, defensive. This would be different. This would be truth. He circled downwind, muscles coiling. The buck's head came up, nostrils flaring, but too late. Ryder launched himself from the shadows, and this time he didn't aim for the throat. This time he made it last. The buck screamed, a sound most humans didn't know deer could make. Ryder brought it down messy, claws raking, letting it struggle, letting it suffer, letting her see. When he finally ended it, when he tore into still warm flesh with savage dedication, he felt her presence like a physical touch. Standing at the tree line, watching him paint himself in crimson truth. He fed like the beast he was, cracking bones between his jaws, baptizing himself in brutality. This was what waited for her if she stayed. This was what love looked like when it wore fur and fang. "See me," he thought desperately. "See what you're trying to save and run." The shift back was worse than the first, muscles screaming as he fought to regain human form. Without the adrenaline of the hunt, every cell rebelled. He bit through his lip to keep from screaming, tasted his own blood mixing with the deer's. He lay naked on the forest floor, blood on his mouth, dirt under his nails, the deer's dead eyes reflecting his shame. This was who he was, what he'd always been, even before the curse. The soft boy who'd cried over dead rabbits grown into a monster who killed to make a point. Satisfied? He pushed to his knees, not bothering to cover himself. She'd seen it all anyway. Every scar, every shame, every broken piece. This is your patient healer. A beast who kills, who'll spend eternity ripping apart innocent creatures because someone decided I needed to learn a lesson. She moved closer, and he saw something impossible in her eyes. Not disgust, not fear, understanding. The word hit him like a physical blow. No. She was supposed to run. She was supposed to see the blood, the violence, the truth of him, and flee back to her divine realm, where everything was light and beauty and nothing hurt. "You're not a beast," she said quietly. "Evidence suggests otherwise. He gestured to the deer's remains, to the gore painting his chest, to the wild thing wearing his face. You're a wolf. Wolves hunt. It's nature, not monstrosity. She pulled off her outer shirt, practical cotton that smelled like her, and held it out. And you're a man who's angry at his own nature. That's human, not horrible. He took the shirt to spite her, wrapping it around his waist. It was laughably small on him, barely covering anything, but it smelled like divine light and woman and home. The scent made his eyes burn with something that wasn't tears, because cursed alphas didn't cry over pretty girls who looked at them like they were worth saving. I could have killed you, he said, the words scraping his throat raw. When I'm wolf, I'm less base instinct, hunger, rage. What happens when I'm stuck that way? When the bloodlust doesn't fade with the shape? What happens when I can't stop myself from hunting the divine light that calls to me like prey? Then we make sure you're not stuck that way. We? He laughed, harsh and bitter as winter wind. There is no we, little goddess. I'm not little. She stepped closer, chin raised, and goddess help him. Her defiance made him want to crowd her against the nearest tree and show her exactly how not little she was in ways that had nothing to do with height. In the morning light filtering through leaves, she looked like something out of legend, beautiful, untouchable, everything he couldn't have without destroying. And I'm not just any goddess, I'm a healer, divine healing specifically designed for... No. The word tore from him with enough force to make her step back. Divine magic did this. Divine magic destroyed... He cut himself off, jaw locked against the words, against her name, against the memory of another healer, another promise, another betrayal. Then let divine magic fix it. Her voice gentled, and that gentleness was worse than anger would have been. I can help you, Ryder. The pain, the random shifts, maybe even the curse itself. But you have to let me try. I don't have to do anything. Stubborn wolf. But she said it like an endearment, like something precious, and his traitorous heart skipped. What are you so afraid of? You, he didn't say. Afraid of hoping, afraid of watching you fail like everyone else, afraid of how much I already want to pull you against me and breathe you in until you're all I know. Afraid of what I'll become when you realize you can't save something that was broken long before it was cursed. Actually, a voice piped up from her pocket, he does have to do something. Ryder jumped back, battle instincts flaring. What the? Pax emerged, tiny dragon form practically vibrating with glee. Hi, I'm Pax. Love what you've done with the murder scene. Very avant-garde. Her pocket talks. Ryder stared, reality tilting sideways. Why does her pocket talk? Rude. I'm not the pocket. I'm in the pocket. Completely different thing. Pax flew to perch on Skye's shoulder. Anyway, fun fact about divine healing. She can't actually help you without formal permission. Divine law, very strict about consent, which means... Understanding dawned like a gift from whatever dark gods watched over cursed things. His wolf, who'd been whining to get closer to the goddess, suddenly stilled. Here it was, the escape, the wall he could build that she couldn't breach with all her compassion and stubborn light. Which means, Ryder said slowly, tasting salvation and damnation on his tongue, I can ensure she doesn't help by simply not asking. Well, yes, technically, but that would be stupid. Perfect. He smiled, sharp and victorious, even as something in his chest cracked like ice. Then I'll make this easy for everyone. I, Ryder Thornfield, Alpha of the Thornfield Pack, do hereby declare that I will never... He met her eyes, held them, memorizing the exact shade of gold-flecked brown for all the cold nights ahead. Never ask for divine healing. Not from you. Not from any glowing, self-righteous, divinity-touched. You're being an ass, she interrupted. I'm being clear. But heat crept up his neck at her direct gaze, at the way she looked at him like she could see through skin and bone to the frightened thing beneath. I don't want your help. I don't need your pity. And I will never, ever ask you to lay one divine finger on me. The words tasted like ash, like endings, like every hope he'd never admitted to having dying in his throat. but better ash than the inferno she'd become when she realized she couldn't save him. Better to burn alone than take her down with him. Something flashed in her eyes. Not hurt, not anger, challenge. His wolf recognized it, responded to it, wanted to answer it with teeth and claim and mine. But the man knew better. The man had learned. "Never is a long time," she said softly, and her voice held promises he couldn't let himself believe. "Eternity is longer." He turned to go, needing distance before her scent drove him to do something stupid, like ask what her hair smelled like, or if her skin was as soft as it looked, or why she made him want impossible things like tomorrow and always and please. "Where are you going?" "Away from you. Away from the hope in your eyes and the challenge in your smile and the way you make me remember I'm more than just a curse counting down to catastrophe, to my room, to shift, to suffer in peace." He paused at the tree line, not turning back because if he saw her standing there with sunlight in her hair and determination in her spine, he'd break. "What are you afraid of, Ryder Thornfield?" He turned, looked at her, and couldn't find the words. Nobody had ever talked to him like that, direct as an arrow, seeing through every wall he'd built. She stood there in the morning light covered in forest dirt, wearing determination like armor, and waited, just waited, as if she had all the time in the world for him to find his voice. "You're afraid that I fail to heal you, or that I succeed, because the former is expected. But the latter?" She tilted her head, studying him with those impossible eyes. "It means you'd have no more place to hide behind all that violence and cruelty. So which one is it?" He held her gaze for a moment. Two. As long as he could stand to look at someone who saw him so clearly, it hurt. "It seems I can't make you leave or give up this idea that you can somehow heal me." His voice came out rougher than intended. "So feel free to do whatever you like at Thornfield, as long as you stay clear of me." He lowered his voice, let the wolf bleed through. "And don't come near during my hunting time, because I can't tell who's who." The admission cost him more than all his snarling. It was truth. When the wolf took over, when bloodlust sang in his veins, divine light might look like prey. She might become just another thing to hunt, to catch, to claim with teeth instead of tenderness. He turned and walked into the forest, each step heavier than the last. Behind him, he left a goddess who looked at him like a puzzle she was determined to solve. He just hoped she'd realize some puzzles were meant to stay broken before it was too late. For both of them. Chapter 6. The Thornfield Library smelled of dust and secrets and 1,000 failed attempts at salvation. Skye pushed through the heavy doors, Pax grumbling on her shoulder. "This is pointless. He literally told you to stay away," used his scary wolf voice and everything. "He also said I could do whatever I like at Thornfield." She surveyed the towering shelves, the scattered papers on the massive oak desk, the books left open as if someone had abandoned them mid-revelation. "Reading counts as whatever I like. That's not what he meant, and you know it." "Miss?" Iris floated near the ceiling, her will-o'-the-wisp form casting dancing shadows. "If you're looking for information about the curse, Master Ryder's already been through everything. Multiple times." "I'm not looking for curse information." Skye ran her fingers along leather spines, feeling the weight of generations. "I want to know about the family. The history. Him." Iris flickered, the equivalent of a surprised blink. "Oh, well, the family records are in the East Wing, third shelf from the window. Though I'm not sure Master would want— Master isn't here." Bertha bustled in with a tea tray, shooting Iris a meaningful look. "And what he doesn't know won't hurt him. Besides, might do him good. Someone understanding where he comes from." The brownie set the tray on a clear spot between scattered papers. "Thornfield history goes back 3 centuries. Alpha's every generation until—" She shook her head. "Well, you'll see." Hours passed in a blur of records, genealogies, newspaper clippings. The Thornfield legacy unfolded like a map of power and responsibility, strength and sacrifice. Every alpha left their mark, treaties signed, territories expanded, peace maintained through strategic marriages and careful alliances. Then she reached Ryder's generation. "Oh," she breathed, staring at a faded photograph. Young Ryder, maybe 16, grinning beside a group of teenagers. The caption read, "Future Alpha leads Pack Youth in Charity Drive for Human Hospital. He looks happy," Pax observed, perching on the photo album. He did. Open, bright, none of the shadows that haunted him now. She turned the page and found more. Ryder teaching young wolves to shift. Ryder mediating pack disputes with patience instead of force. Ryder at his father's side learning the weight of leadership. Then the records changed. Pack member dies in training accident. Alpha's son devastated. Mysterious illness claims 3. After Alpha heir's birthday celebration, elder falls from cliff during pack hunt. Led by young Thornfield. Notice anything? Skye pulled out more documents, spreading them across the desk. Besides the fact that you're obsessively stalking his past? Pax hopped from paper to paper. Wait, these dates. Every time something good happened, his birthday, successful hunt, charity work, someone died or got hurt. Her fingers traced the pattern. Look, he volunteers at the human hospital. 2 pack members get food poisoning. He helps renovate the pack nursery. A carpenter falls through the roof. He gets engaged to Celeste Winters, divine healer, and his mother dies in a freak accident. Pax finished, reading from a later entry. Oh no. Skye's eyes burned as she read the engagement announcement, so different from the tragedy that followed. The newspaper painted it as an alliance, Pack and Divine working together. But margin notes in Ryder's own handwriting told a different story. She saw through me, knew exactly what I was. Should have known it would end like this. Skye, Pax's voice was unusually serious. This pattern, it's not natural. You think? She laughed, but it came out cracked. Every time he shows kindness, someone suffers. Every time he lets himself care, no, I mean it's literally not natural. This isn't how the world works. He shifted to his dragon form, scales flickering with agitation. Bad things happen, yes. But not with this kind of mathematical precision. This is... What? He flew closer to the documents, nostrils flaring. It smells like divine magic. But wrong. Twisted. Divine magic doesn't work like that. But even as she said it, she remembered Master Gideon's lessons about balance, about cosmic justice, about the price of interference. Dark magic is straightforward, Pax said, landing on her shoulder. Curses, hexes, your standard supernatural nastiness. But when divine beings go dark, he shuddered. That's different. They know the rules of creation. They can bend them in ways that shouldn't be possible. The curse, she whispered. Someone divine cast it to punish his kindness specifically, to turn his gentleness into a weapon against the people he loves. Wicked doesn't begin to cover it. Pax's tail wrapped around her neck. Comfort and anxiety combined. Whoever did this understood exactly how to break someone like him, make his greatest strength, his greatest liability. She sank into the desk chair, overwhelming sadness washing over her. No wonder he'd become cold, distant, cruel. It was the only way to protect people from the curse's twisted logic. Do you have a plan? Pax asked quietly. Because this is bigger than just healing shifts. This is divine judgment corrupted into torture. Afkaz, I'll try everything. She pulled medical texts toward her. Herbs, potions, traditional remedies. Every healing method that doesn't require divine magic. Maybe if I can ease the symptoms. Skye. His voice held warning. You know the rules. No healing without permission. No divine intervention without prayer. The council is already watching you after that thing with Emma. One more violation and... I know! The words came out sharper than intended. I know, Pax, but I can't just watch him suffer. You could leave. Could you? If it were someone you... She cut herself off, cheeks burning. Someone you what? Pax's eyes gleamed with mischief despite the serious moment. Someone you've known for 2 whole days? Someone who's repeatedly told you to go away? Someone whose abs you definitely haven't been thinking about? This isn't about his abs. Sure, and I'm not adorable. He preened his scales. Look, I get it. Brooding wolf, tragic curse, the whole "I must save him with my love" thing. Very romantic. But the rules exist for a reason. Divine magic without consent is... Footsteps pounded down the hallway. "Master Ryder!" Grimm's voice edged with panic. Skye was running before she made the conscious decision to move. Down corridors, upstairs, following the sound of distress. Pax clung to her shoulder, muttering about bad decisions and divine punishment. She burst through the door to find Ryder on his bedroom floor, body contorted between forms. Not shifting, stuck. One arm fully human, the other trapped mid-transformation. His face was a horror of half-formed features, neither man nor wolf. "How long?" She dropped beside him, hands hovering helplessly. "Hours," Bertha whispered. "He's been shifting back and forth for days. Ever since you arrived, trying to maintain control, trying to stay human when you're around, then hunting as wolf. His body can't take it anymore." "At this rate," Grimm said quietly, "he won't make it to the full moon. The curse will claim him before the deadline." Ryder's eyes, one gold, one brown, found hers. In them she saw agony, fear, and something else. Resignation. He'd given up. "No!" The word tore from her throat. "No, you don't get to quit." "Not now." She reached for him, and Pax practically screamed in her ear. "Skye! The rules!" Her hand stopped inches from his twisted form. Divine light gathered under her skin, desperate to heal, to help, to fix this broken thing, but without his permission. "Please," she whispered, not sure if she was begging him or the universe or the cruel divine who'd done this. "Please let me help you." His malformed mouth moved, trying to speak. What came out was neither human words nor wolf sounds, but pure pain given voice. And still, even drowning in agony, he didn't ask. The stubborn, noble, infuriating fool would rather die than risk her divine punishment or trigger his curse to hurt her. "I hate you," she told him, tears streaming down her face. "I hate that you're making me watch this. I hate that you won't let me." His human hand moved slightly. Reaching for her? Warning her away? She'd never know, because in the next moment his body convulsed, the stuck transformation trying to complete itself and failing. The sound he made would haunt her forever. "Get her out," Grimm said quietly. He wouldn't want her to see. "I'm not leaving." She met the gargoyle's stone gaze with steel of her own. "I'm staying right here, and when he's ready, if he's ever ready, I'll be here." "Could be hours," Bertha warned. "Could be days. Could be—" "I'll be here." She settled on the floor beside him, close enough to touch if he asked, far enough to respect the boundary he'd built in pain and fear and twisted love. "However long it takes." Pax sighed, curling up in her lap. "We're going to get in so much trouble." "Probably. The council will come for you." "Let them. He might never ask." "Then I'll watch him not ask." She looked down at Ryder's tortured form, at the man who'd rather die than risk harming anyone else. "But I'll be here. That's all I can do. Be here and hope that someday, somehow, he'll realize he's worth saving. And if he doesn't?" She didn't answer. Couldn't. Because the truth was too hard to voice. She'd rather spend eternity watching him suffer than walk away and wonder if she could have made a difference, even if it meant breaking her own heart in the process. The night stretched ahead, counted in labored breaths and bitten-back screams. And Skye stayed, divine light burning under her skin, waiting for permission that might never come. Chapter 7. The Thornfield Library smelled of dust and secrets and 1,000 failed attempts at salvation. Skye pushed through the heavy doors, Pax grumbling on her shoulder. "This is pointless. He literally told you to stay away, used his scary wolf voice and everything. He also said I could do whatever I like at Thornfield." She surveyed the towering shelves, the scattered papers on the massive oak desk, the books left open as if someone had abandoned them mid-revelation. "Reading counts as whatever I like." "That's not what he meant, and you know it." "Miss?" Iris floated near the ceiling, her will-o'-the-wisp form casting dancing shadows. "If you're looking for information about the curse, Master Ryder's already been through everything, multiple times. I'm not looking for curse information. Skye ran her fingers along leather spines, feeling the weight of generations. I want to know about the family, the history, him. Iris flickered, the equivalent of a surprised blink. Oh, well, the family records are in the east wing, third shelf from the window, though I'm not sure Master would want— Master isn't here. Bertha bustled in with a tea tray, shooting Iris a meaningful look. And what he doesn't know won't hurt him. Besides, might do him good, someone understanding where he comes from. The brownie set the tray on a clear spot between scattered papers. Thornfield history goes back 3 centuries. Alpha's every generation until— She shook her head. Well, you'll see. Hours passed in a blur of records, genealogies, newspaper clippings. The Thornfield legacy unfolded like a map of power and responsibility, strength and sacrifice. Every Alpha left their mark, treaties signed, territories expanded, peace maintained through strategic marriages and careful alliances. Then she reached Ryder's generation. Oh, she breathed, staring at a faded photograph. Young Ryder, maybe 16, grinning beside a group of teenagers. The caption read, "Future Alpha leads Pack Youth in charity drive for Human Hospital." He looks happy, Pax observed, perching on the photo album. He did. Open, bright, none of the shadows that haunted him now. She turned the page and found more. Ryder teaching young wolves to shift. Ryder mediating pack disputes with patience instead of force. Ryder at his father's side learning the weight of leadership. Then the records changed. Pack member dies in training accident. Alpha's son devastated. Mysterious illness claims 3. After Alpha heir's birthday celebration. Elder falls from cliff during pack hunt led by young Thornfield. Notice anything? Skye pulled out more documents, spreading them across the desk. Besides the fact that you're obsessively stalking his past, Pax hopped from paper to paper. Wait, these dates. Every time something good happened, his birthday, successful hunt, charity work, someone died or got hurt. Her fingers traced the pattern. Look, he volunteers at the Human Hospital, 2 pack members get food poisoning. He helps renovate the pack nursery, a carpenter falls through the roof. He gets engaged to Celeste Winters, divine healer, and his mother dies in a freak accident. Pax finished, reading from a later entry. Oh no. Skye's eyes burned as she read the engagement announcement, so different from the tragedy that followed. The newspaper painted it as an alliance, Pack and Divine working together. But margin notes in Ryder's own handwriting told a different story. She saw through me, knew exactly what I was. Should have known it would end like this. Skye? Pax's voice was unusually serious. This pattern, it's not natural. You think? She laughed, but it came out cracked. Every time he shows kindness, someone suffers. Every time he lets himself care, no, I mean, it's literally not natural. This isn't how the world works. He shifted to his dragon form, scales flickering with agitation. Bad things happen, yes, but not with this kind of mathematical precision. This is— What, Pax? He flew closer to the documents, nostrils flaring. It smells like divine magic, but wrong, twisted. Divine magic doesn't work like that. But even as she said it, she remembered Master Gideon's lessons about balance, about cosmic justice, about the price of interference. Dark magic is straightforward, Pax said, landing on her shoulder. Curses, hexes, your standard supernatural nastiness. But when divine beings go dark— He shuddered. That's different. They know the rules of creation. They can bend them in ways that shouldn't be possible. The curse, she whispered. Someone divine cast it to punish his kindness specifically, to turn his gentleness into a weapon against the people he loves. Wicked doesn't begin to cover it. Pax's tail wrapped around her neck. Comfort and anxiety combined. Whoever did this understood exactly how to break someone like him, make his greatest strength, his greatest liability. She sank into the desk chair, overwhelming sadness washing over her. No wonder he'd become cold, distant, cruel. It was the only way to protect people from the curse's twisted logic. "Do you have a plan?" Pax asked quietly. "Because this is bigger than just healing shifts. This is divine judgment corrupted into torture." "I'll try everything." She pulled medical texts toward her. Herbs, potions, traditional remedies. Every healing method that doesn't require divine magic. "Maybe if I can ease the symptoms." "Skye," his voice held warning. "You know the rules. No healing without permission. No divine intervention without prayer. The council is already watching you after that thing with Emma. One more violation and—" "I know." The words came out sharper than intended. "I know, Pax, but I can't just watch him suffer." "You could leave." "Could you? If it were someone you—" She cut herself off, cheeks burning. "Someone you what?" Pax's eyes gleamed with mischief despite the serious moment. "Someone you've known for 2 whole days? Someone who's repeatedly told you to go away? Someone whose abs you definitely haven't been thinking about? This isn't about his abs." "Sure, and I'm not adorable." He preened his scales. "Look, I get it. Brooding wolf, tragic curse, the whole I must save him with my love thing. Very romantic. But the rules exist for a reason. Divine magic without consent is—" Footsteps pounded down the hallway. "Master Ryder!" Grimm's voice edged with panic. Skye was running before she made the conscious decision to move. Down corridors, upstairs, following the sound of distress. Pax clung to her shoulder, muttering about bad decisions and divine punishment. She burst through the door to find Ryder on his bedroom floor. She expected to see him sick, in pain. She didn't expect to see him like this, lying flat on the ground, fading. He just needs remedies, right? She couldn't stabilize her voice, so she let it shake. "He doesn't have long. Hours at most," Bertha whispered. "He's been shifting back and forth for days. Ever since you arrived, trying to maintain control, trying to stay human when you're around, then hunting as wolf. His body can't take it anymore. At this rate," Grimm said quietly, "he won't make it to the full moon. The curse will claim him before the deadline. At least I hope it leaves him in his human form. He's a kind boy. He should go in this form." Bertha sobbed. What did he do to deserve this? Ryder's eyes fluttered open. The golden eyes were beautiful, but now they were dazed, almost glassed over. There was a flicker of something in them when he saw her. Recognition? Maybe something more. Relief? "Happy to see you before." "No." The word tore from her throat. "No, you don't get to quit. Not now." She reached for him, and Pax practically screamed in her ear. "Skye, the rules. I can't control the curse. I can't control when I'll shift. I prefer to die a human. It's better that I go now." Her hand stopped inches from his form. Divine light gathered under her skin, desperate to heal, to help, to fix this broken thing, but without his permission. "Please," she whispered, not sure if she was begging him or the universe or the cruel divine who'd done this. "Please let me help you. Just say yes, Ryder. I accepted a blessing once from the divine. Mother died because of that." He closed his eyes again. She held his hands, feeling how cold they were. Like death had already started claiming him from the extremities inward. That's what those articles in the library were about. If you show love, compassion, and care, people you love will die? Is that what you're afraid of? No response from him, but his fingers tightened slightly around hers. "I hate you," she told him, tears streaming down her face. "I hate that you're making me watch this. I hate that you won't let me." Then his hand moved, not reaching for her, pushing away. A clear signal. "He wants you out," Grimm said quietly. "He wouldn't want you to see. I'm not leaving." She met the gargoyle's stone gaze with steel of her own. "I'm staying right here, and when he's ready, if he's ever ready, I'll be here." "Could be hours," Bertha warned. "Could be." "Hours to what?" "He's dying." Bertha's voice broke. "Can't you see?" "No." "Oh, I have a bad feeling about this," Pax muttered, scales flickering with anxiety. "The council will come for you," he warned. "Let them." She raised her palms over Ryder's still form. Divine light gathered, not gentle healing, but a flood of desperate power. The moment it touched him, the room exploded with radiance. Golden fire raced along his skin, met the curse's darkness, and they screamed at each other, a sound that made reality shiver. His body lifted from the floor, suspended between light and shadow. She poured everything into him. Not just healing, but life itself. Divine essence, flowing like molten gold. The curse fought back viciously, but she was stronger. She was furious. She was in love. His body convulsed, bones realigning, skin settling into one form, blessedly, perfectly human. The curse's grip loosened, retreated, but didn't break. She'd bought him time, nothing more. He floated gently back to the ground. When he opened his eyes, they were clear, alive, shocked. "You healed me." His voice was wondering, then horrified as understanding dawned. "Skye, did you break the curse?" "Not quite." She tried to smile, though her wrists burned like ice where divine brands were forming. "I just stopped you from dying. And see? You're smiling. You're happy. And me? I'm alive." Pax groaned in her ear. The servants gasped at something behind her. "What didn't you tell me?" Ryder struggled to sit, eyes fixed on her wrists where golden marks were etching themselves into her skin like burning chains. Before she could answer, the entire mansion shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. The windows rattled in their frames. Then came the sound, like thunder, but wrong. Too rhythmic, too deliberate. Footsteps. Massive footsteps, each one shaking the foundation. Something was coming, something huge, something that made Pax whimper and every servant in the room fall to their knees in primal terror. "What?" Ryder started. The footsteps stopped directly outside. Then, in a voice that wasn't quite sound, but rather vibration felt in their bones, something spoke a single word: transgressor. The brands on Skye's wrists flared white-hot, and every window in Thornfield exploded inward. Chapter 8. The word hung in the air like a physical thing. Transgressor. Each syllable had weight, had substance, had the power to unmake reality. Glass showered the room in glittering rain. Skye threw herself over Ryder, shielding him from the shards, but they passed through her like she was mist. Divine punishment, it seemed, was precise in its cruelty. The glass found only her, leaving tiny cuts that healed instantly but stung with judgment. He grunted beneath her, and she felt his muscles tense, ready to fight an enemy he couldn't touch. The protective gesture made her heart clench even as terror crawled up her spine. Through the destroyed windows came light, not warm like hers, but cold, clinical. The light of judgment that knew no mercy, that tasted of absolute authority and smelled of distant stars. A figure materialized in the doorway, tall, androgynous, beautiful in the way a blade is beautiful. They wore robes that seemed to be cut from the night sky itself, stars shifting across the fabric with each movement. The air around them crackled with power that made her divine essence recoil. "Skye Winters." The voice was harmony and discord at once. "By order of the Celestial Council, you will come with me to face judgment for your transgression." "No!" Ryder struggled to his feet, and she felt the effort it cost him through the lingering connection of her healing. "She saved my life. She interfered in mortal affairs without consent, used divine power for personal gain, abandoned her post without authorization." The collector's eyes, if those swirling voids could be called eyes, fixed on Skye's branded wrists. The marks burned hotter under that gaze, as if recognizing their maker. "The evidence is carved into her essence. There is no debate." "Personal gain?" Skye stood, anger overriding the fear that wanted to buckle her knees. "I saved a life." "You saved a life you had personal attachment to. That is the very definition of corruption." The collector extended one perfect hand, and she felt the pull of it, divine authority calling her home for punishment. "Come, your judgment awaits." Wait! Pax flew between them, tiny form trembling but resolute. There must be protocols, procedures. You can't just take her. I am the procedure. The collector's attention shifted to Pax, and her friend squeaked, scales dulling with fear. Unless you wish to be cited for obstruction? Skye's not going anywhere. Ryder's voice had dropped to a growl that vibrated through the floorboards. His body tensed beside her, preparing for a shift he was too weak to survive, and she wanted to scream at him to stop, to not risk himself for her. Mortal. The word dripped disdain. You would challenge divine authority? She used the power given to her like stray magic. That is sinful. You're lucky to benefit from her abuse of power. Now you, a mortal, want to have a say? I challenge anyone who tries to take her. The collector laughed, a sound like crystal breaking, sharp enough to draw blood. I can take back what she gave you. Still want to object? Fear spiked through Skye's chest. They could undo her healing, leave Ryder dying on the floor again. She opened her mouth to surrender, to agree to go if they'd just leave him whole. You, the divine, the god, or whatever, violated your very law. Ryder's voice was low, determined, barely above a snarl. His alpha voice, the one that made even other predators pause. The collector's perfect features twisted in shock. Skye bit back a hysterical laugh. This divine being had probably never been challenged by a mortal, never had their authority questioned by something they considered so far beneath them. A collector. Just a collector who happened to be on duty when her magic use had flared its signal to the divine realm. Not her master, not someone with real authority. I request an audience with my master, she said, grasping at the formal words through her panic. The collector's laugh turned cruel. You forfeited your rights the moment you entered the mortal realm without just cause. You're not even a proper guardian healer yet to answer a prayer. Yes, she is. She's the successor, Pax chimed in, tiny voice fierce. She has not yet accepted her path. And if she did, she is still a trainee until he hands his position over. Am I right, Skye Winters? The collector's smile was sharp as winter moonlight. I repeat, I request an audience with my master. You're in no position to refuse me that right. Your master is on a very important mission right now. He's not around to keep an eye on you. And if you didn't misbehave, you wouldn't be in such trouble. And for what? The collector's gaze slid to Ryder like oil over water. For a mortal. My turf. My rules divine. Ryder's growl deepened, and she felt his body temperature spike beside her, the wolf fighting to surface. Everyone turned to stare at him. He stood straighter, golden eyes burning with determination, and something else. Something that made her breath catch. She pushed him behind her, heart hammering. Ryder, he has real divine magic. If he means to strike you, even my healing ability won't help. Can you please shut up? But Ryder didn't move, his chest solid against her back. On what grounds do you challenge me, mortal? Using your very law. I do not ask for your interference with my pack affairs. I didn't invite you into my home. You trespass. The collector tilted their head, considering. That's why I have not used any power on you. I didn't harm any of your subjects. I apologize for the broken windows. I'll take my stray subject and get out of your realm then. Pax whimpered, a sound that broke her heart. Skye took a step back, but she knew there was no escape. Divine law was absolute. She'd broken it. The brands on her wrists were proof. She'd have to go, have to face whatever punishment. Then she felt Ryder's warmth wrap around her, his arms pulling her back against his chest. His voice came right behind her ear, low and intense enough to make her shiver. You're mine, Skye Winters. Before she could process the words, before she could respond, she felt his mouth at her neck, the scrape of teeth against sensitive skin, a moment of pressure, of decision, of... His fangs penetrated the skin where neck met shoulder, sharp and incredibly fast. Not painful, not exactly, but the sensation shot through her like lightning, like starlight, like coming home. The bite didn't just draw blood. It drew something deeper, more essential. She could feel it, a tidal wave of strange energy flooding through her blood, her bones, her very soul. Wild magic, older than divine law, older than the realms themselves. The magic of choice, of claiming, of two souls deciding to become one. She was being changed, transformed, claimed, by a mortal alpha who hadn't even asked permission. But as the bond formed, as she felt his emotions flooding through the new connection, desperate love, fierce protection, absolute certainty, she knew her answer would have been yes. Had always been yes, from the moment he'd saved her from the Blackmore pack. The sensation of his fangs in her neck was overwhelming, intimate beyond anything she'd experienced. She could feel his heartbeat through the bond, quick and strong, could taste his emotions, determination, love, and underneath it all, a wild joy that he could show kindness, could claim her, and no one was dying for it. The curse's pattern was breaking. "She was your stray subject," Ryder said as he released her, his voice rough with the effort of partial transformation. She swayed, caught between divine nature and this new wild magic coursing through her. "But she's my mate now, in my home, where you are not invited." The collector took a step back. Through her spinning senses, Skye saw their perfect features twist with upset confusion. They clearly had no protocol for this. "If you break another of my windows," Ryder continued, arms steady around her waist, "I will start recording debts. She still has to face judgment for what she's done." The collector's voice had lost its earlier certainty. "You would need to go back to seek proper authority and get her master when you have a chance." Pax had transformed into a puppy and stuck out his pink tongue in the most undignified gesture Skye had ever seen him make. "I'll return with authority." The collector's form began to fade, but their voice lingered like frost. "You'll have nowhere to hide, Skye Winters." Then they were gone, taking the cold light with them. The room fell silent, except for her ragged breathing and the wild drumming of her heart. She was dizzy, overwhelmed by the new sensations flooding through the bond. She could feel Ryder everywhere, his exhaustion, his triumph, his love burning bright as a star. Through blurring vision, she saw Bertha with her hand on her chest, tears streaming down her weathered face as she watched Ryder. Her master's face was radiant with something Skye had only seen in that old photograph. Genuine joy. The light of kindness, the power of the alpha he'd always been meant to be. And that kindness hadn't hurt anyone. He'd protected, claimed, loved, and the curse hadn't twisted it into tragedy. "My mate," he said softly, turning her in his arms so she faced him. His golden eyes held depths she wanted to drown in. "Will you accept me? Despite everything, the danger, the uncertainty, the collector's threat hanging over them," she found herself fighting a smile. "Is that your way of doing things around here? Strike first, ask later?" His thumb traced the bite mark on her neck, and she shivered at the sensation. Through the bond, she felt his spike of satisfaction at her response. "Will you be my mate?" The formal words, the ritual question, even though the bite had already claimed her, he was giving her the choice. The power to accept or refuse. The respect the collector hadn't shown. She sighed, but it came out shaky with emotion. "Yes, but we're not out of the woods yet. I didn't exactly break your curse. The healing is temporary, and the collector will come back stronger. We'll be ready." His forehead touched hers, and she breathed him in, pine and wildness and home. "Together." "Together," she agreed, and felt the bond pulse with warmth. Through the broken windows, dawn painted the sky in shades of rose and gold. They had time. Not much, but some. Time to figure out what she was becoming. Time to find a way to break his curse permanently. Time to prepare for whatever the divine realm would throw at them. But right now, in this moment, with his arms around her and their bond singing between them, Skye felt something she hadn't expected. Hope. "Did you see the collector's face?" Pax landed on her shoulder, back in his dragon form. "Absolutely priceless. I wish I could have painted it." "You stuck your tongue out at a divine being," she reminded him. "Best moment of my immortal life." He preened, "Worth whatever punishment comes." "You're all insane," Grimm said, but his stone face showed the ghost of a smile. Challenging divine law, biting without permission, making faces at collectors. This house has gone mad. The best kind of mad, Bertha declared, bustling forward. Now everyone out, these two need rest and privacy. Mate bonds need to settle properly. Bertha, Skye protested, heat flooding her cheeks. What? It's nature, dear, nothing to be ashamed of. The brownie shooed the other servants toward the door. We'll prepare the rose suite. Take your time. As the room emptied, Skye became acutely aware of being alone with Ryder, of the bond humming between them, new and electric, of the way he was looking at her, like she was precious, impossible, his. You saved me, she said softly. You saved me first. His hand cupped her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone. The collector was right about one thing. You broke divine law for a mortal you'd known for days. Not just any mortal. She leaned into his touch. My mortal, my wolf, my mate. The words hit him physically. She felt it through the bond, a surge of emotion so powerful it took her breath away. Love and wonder and a desperate protective need that probably should have scared her, but only made her feel safe. He kissed her then, and it was nothing like she'd imagined a first kiss should be. It was desperate and sweet and tasted of blood from the claiming bite. It was a promise and a claim and a prayer all at once. The bond flared between them, completing something that had been building since she'd first seen his golden eyes. When they finally broke apart, she was breathing hard, and his eyes had gone dark with want. "Rose sweet?" he asked, voice rough. "We should plan," she said, even as she melted against him. "The collector will return. The curse is still there. We need time," he finished. "We need time and rest and—" His eyes dropped to the bite mark on her neck, and she felt his satisfaction pulse through the bond. And to let this settle, Bertha's right. Mate bonds need attention. Heat pooled low in her stomach at the promise in his voice. Divine beings don't usually... Good. The possessiveness in his voice should not have been as attractive as it was. Neither have I. We'll figure it out together. Together. The word that had become their promise, their lifeline, their future. She kissed him again, softer this time, and tasted possibilities. Outside, the sun climbed higher, painting their destroyed room in light that wasn't divine or cold, but simply morning. They had problems to solve, curses to break, realms to defy. But they had each other. Had this bond that pulsed between them like a second heartbeat. Had love that had already defied divine law and might just be strong enough to defy everything else. "Come on," Ryder said, pulling her toward the door. "Let's go scandalize Bertha by actually using that rose suite." "Ryder!" His laugh was free and bright and nothing like the bitter sound she'd first heard. "What? We're mated now. Certain things are expected. You're impossible." "I'm yours," he corrected, and the simple truth of it made her eyes burn with tears. "Mine," she agreed and let him lead her from the room. Behind them, morning light streamed through broken windows, illuminating the spot where divine law had met ancient claiming and lost, where a goddess had chosen mortality and love over eternal divinity, where their story had truly begun. The collector would return. The curse still waited to be broken. The divine realm would not forget or forgive easily. But as Ryder pulled her close in the hallway, as he pressed a kiss to the mark that bound them, as the bond sang with completion and possibility, Skye found she wasn't afraid. She'd faced divine judgment and chosen love. Everything else was just details. "No regrets?" Ryder asked against her neck. "Never," she promised, and meant it with every fiber of her transforming being. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. Mated, bound, theirs. Epilogue. 3 days later. "My maid is trying to cook again," Skye announced, entering the library where Pax had made himself a nest of romance novels. "The protective alpha who fought off an entire rival pack is currently being defeated by scrambled eggs. The kitchen's on fire again, isn't it?" Pax didn't look up from his book. Claimed by the Highland wolf, she noticed with amusement. Just a small one. Grim's handling it. She collapsed into the leather chair, still marveling at how different everything felt. 3 days since the claiming bite. 3 days since she'd chosen her fated mate over immortality. 3 days of learning what mate bond really meant in a shifter romance novel come to life. "You're glowing," Pax observed. "That's new." She was. A soft golden light emanated from her skin, not divine anymore, but something else. Something that happened whenever Ryder was near, whenever their bond sang with completion. "Side effect of the transition," she said, then paused. "Pax, what happens when divine magic runs out? If I stay mortal forever?" He finally looked up. "Planning ahead? It's been 3 days. I like to be prepared." "Well," he shifted to his dragon form, settling more comfortably. "Your healing gift won't disappear, just change. You'll need to choose, traditional herbal medicine or modern human medicine. Though knowing you, you'll probably combine both." His tail swished. "Speaking of planning ahead, have you considered what your children might be?" "Pax!" "What? It's a valid question. Little wolf shifters, divine guardians? Some hybrid that makes the collector's head explode?" He preened his scales. "I need to know what kind of uncle I'll be. We've been mated for 3 days. And you've been living in the Rose Suite for all of them," he pointed out. "Werewolf virility plus divine fertility equals—" "My brilliant mate," Ryder interrupted from the doorway, saving her from Pax's reproductive mathematics. Her traitorous body reacted like it always did. Heart racing, skin warming, that pull to be closer. The werewolf romance novels hadn't exaggerated about the mate bond's intensity. He crossed to her chair, and she saw the change in him already. How naturally he touched her now, fingers threading through her hair, dropping a kiss on the claiming mark that still made her shiver. "The eggs?" she asked against his lips. "Became charcoal, but I saved the bacon." He grinned, and it was still startling to see him so free with joy. Her grumpy sunshine alpha learning to be sunny. Though Pax raises an interesting point. "Not you too." "About my form," Pax clarified quickly. "If your transition becomes permanent and I stay earthbound, I'll need to choose a permanent form too. Dragon's classic, but maybe something more practical? A cat? Dogs are very popular with mortals." "You're getting ahead of yourself." Skye laughed, but Ryder's hand had found her stomach, palm warm and possessive. "Am I?" Ryder's voice dropped to that growl that made her knees weak. "The thought of you carrying my pups." "Pups?" She tried for scandalized, but it came out breathless. "Cubs, babies, whatever divine wolf hybrids are called." He pulled her up from the chair into his arms. "The point is, you're mine. My mate. Mother of my future children, whatever they are." "Confident, aren't we?" "Very." He nuzzled the claiming mark, making her gasp. "Know why?" "Why?" The word was barely a whisper. "Because my mate chose mortality for me. Because she let me claim her in front of a divine judge. Because every time I show kindness now, instead of someone dying, you glow brighter." His hands framed her face, golden eyes serious. "Because you gave me forever, however long that is." "We have 18 days until the full moon," she reminded him. "The collector will return. Your curse isn't broken, just confused. Marcus is planning something. We should be preparing." He kissed her quiet, deep, and claiming, until she melted against him. The mate bond pulsed between them, contentment and desire and something deeper. Home, safety, forever. "We have this moment," he said against her lips. "This day, this choice we made. Let tomorrow's problems wait." "Is that your new philosophy?" "You're my new philosophy." He scooped her up, making her squeak. "My religion, my prayer and answer both." "Subtle," she laughed, but wound her arms around his neck. "Oh, for the love of—" Pax threw his book at them. It passed harmlessly through Skye's glowing form. "Take your fated mate, touch her and die. Protective alpha romance to the Rose Suite." "Some of us are trying to research permanent forms here." Dog, Ryder suggested with a grin. Definitely dog. They're obedient. I'll show you obedient, you overgrown. But Ryder was already carrying her toward their suite, and Skye found she didn't care about Pax's indignant sputtering or future problems or even what their hypothetical children might be. All that mattered was this, her mate's arms around her, their bond humming with completion, and the knowledge that whatever came next, they'd face it together. "I love you," she said against his throat, tasting the words and finding them sweet. He stopped walking, stopped breathing, stopped everything. Then he was pressing her against the hallway wall, kissing her with desperate reverence. "Say it again," he demanded. "I love you, Ryder Thornfield. My mate, my wolf, my choice." The sound he made was neither human nor wolf, but pure joy. "My divine, my salvation, my everything." Each word punctuated with kisses that stole her breath. "I love you beyond reason, beyond realms, beyond whatever time we're given." 18 days, she whispered. "Forever," he corrected, and carried her to their room where divine light and wolf magic tangled into something new, something theirs, something worth defying heaven for. From the library, Pax's voice drifted after them. "A cat it is, then. An immortal cat solving supernatural mysteries. This is going to be excellent." But Skye wasn't listening. She was too busy being thoroughly, properly, divinely loved by her mate. Her beautiful beast who'd taught her that sometimes falling wasn't losing wings. It was finding where you belonged. And she belonged here, in his arms, glowing with joy and love and the promise of whatever tomorrow might bring. Together, always together. Thank you for joining Skye and Ryder on the first part of their journey. If you need to know what happens when the full moon rises, when divine justice comes calling, and whether a goddess can truly become mortal for love, make sure to sign up through the link in the description below. You'll be the first to know when their story continues. And if you're hungry for more wolves from this world, the Wolf Valley series is waiting for you. Because every pack has its secrets, and every wolf has a mate waiting to be claimed. If Skye and Ryder's story touched your heart, please like this video and leave a comment. Your support helps more readers discover these tales of love that defies heaven itself. Subscribe and hit the notification bell to join our pack. Because the best romances are the ones we howl about together. Until next time, keep believing in impossible love. This has been Howling on the Prayer by D.N. Leo, narrated by Jessica Lee.